Hello everyone, welcome to GT Time. I'm your moderator, Kyle Bossman, and joining us as always is our uniquely talented and knowledgeable panel, including Brandon Jones.
Hi, Kyle.
Daniel Bloodworth.
We're also uniquely unknowledgeable and untalented about some things.
And Michael Damiani.
Yep. A little quieter today, Kyle.
Yeah, a little timid. The hood's up.
I thought maybe my
Hood's
ears
up.
were
I'll
like
take the
jammed
hood
or
off.
something.
That's not
yeah.
professional. All right, hood's down. For those listening, I had my hood up while we did that intro, so maybe that's why it was a little
You got
reduced.
your ET jacket on.
Yep. You're right. The little boy put this on ET to make him look like a human. What a dumb movie, right?
What?
That's rough, man.
No,
That's
look
rough.
at it now. Look at it now.
Ouch.
Hey, we're. I feel like the fall season of video games has kicked off, don't you?
We're in a season of some sort, for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I worked out what November looks like, and apparently nobody is going to put out a game on the 3rd when Call of Duty comes out. They're all just going to do it the next week on
And
the
the
11th.
week after that.
Well, the week
11th
after that's pretty
specifically.
bad too, but the 11th is pretty hilarious.
The most complicated day of my year will be November 21st, when the new Pokemon game and the new
Oh.
Smash Brothers game
Yeah.
come out on the exact same day.
I would imagine Smash wins that.
It does. That's the sucky thing, you know.
Because you can have like an intimate relationship with the new Pokemon game. Like that Pokemon game is between you and that game.
Yeah.
You know, like you might talk about strategy with other people, whereas like you're gonna want to get in on that Smash party right away.
Yeah.
Anyone crazy enough to take this bet?
Okay, well, bring it on.
But
I'm pretty crazy.
You're gonna side with me though, Kyle. I already know. Pokemon is gonna sell more than Smash Brothers Wii U in November.
Wow, interesting. I'm
Yeah,
gonna say
it
no,
won't.
it won't.
I say well.
Okay.
I think you're crazy, Kyle.
I'm
You
gonna
should
say.
be careful
I'm
here.
Gonna say Smash
The last
Brothers
time you
Wii U.
lost a bet, you had to review a game.
Yeah, we still have Hello Kitty Racing on that November list on the 11th.
I'm not gonna review Hello Kitty
But,
Racing. I don't know. I think that traditionally the remakes don't do as well as the newest ones, the X's and Y's in this case.
It's super weird to me that it's like becoming a yearly thing, Pokemon games.
It's smart that it's a yearly
I
thing.
think.
I guess it's smart. It's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
I've
Yeah.
definitely have kind of stopped caring because of that.
I get that. It's a remake, man. It's like it's not a new one. It's don't get too excited.
I cared just as much as I didn't yesterday.
Yeah.
Pretty even for Brandon.
Brandon never touched a Pokemon game in his life.
I touched the outsides of them.
It's gonna be hard to get you into it. What were you doing touching outsides of Pokemon games?
Just handling them, you know, just like
When?
taking them off a shelf, looking at it, you know.
So you were that
Or just
close though.
moving
They
stuff.
almost had you.
Just no, because you can look at something doesn't mean, you know,
Yeah, it
like,
does.
you
It's-
can go in like the lamp section of it at Home Depot. Doesn't mean you're buying a lamp.
I'm not gonna pick up a lamp I don't find interesting. You know what I mean? It at least insinuates you thought this was interesting.
But the lamp's like up there on a display. Where the game, you have to take it off the shelf and look at it. Whereas
Yeah.
like back in the day, I'm sure I looked at it like, okay, Pokemon Yellow's different day. All right, we'll see what's going on here.
I feel like if there was something on that box, you could have it would have been a little closer. You know? I feel like
that's
they
a
were
whole different
close.
show. That's,
Oh my
who knows?
gosh.
Like a marketing person, like getting you to pick up the box. That's most of the battle.
Right.
And they did that, and then for you to put it back down, it's like, oh, well, we almost had them.
But it wasn't marketing people. It was the fact that all my friends were playing it. So it's like, okay, let's see what they're talking
And then
about
you looked
here.
at it and like, oh, my friends are stupid, and then you just put it back in.
Well, you can't play every game. The 11th is proof of that. You know,
Right.
so many games are coming out, and
Yeah.
we're all going to have.
Yeah, we won't even. I don't even know if anyone will be able to play both Unity and Rogue. You know.
But like two
Megan Wu will
Assassin's
be
games
able
are coming
to.
out that day, which I'm elated about. But like some people, it's not even on their radar.
Yeah.
Like whatever. There's 2 more games I don't care about.
I'm a rogue man.
Yeah,
myself.
that's exactly. That's what Ian said. Like we went through everything that was coming out on the 11th, and it's like, I guess there's no games coming out on the 11th.
That uncultured swine.
So let's do a clarification, our corrections and clarifications this week. Last week, start the music, please. Last week, we were talking about the 3DS themes, and we weren't sure if they would be coming to the old 3DSs. They certainly will and have.
Yeah, there's a Zelda theme today or something like that.
Not
Damiani
today.
downloaded
It
it.
was like, when was it?
I feel like it was Friday. It was like after our podcast went up,
Okay.
and it was just like, oh, here it is. Now we're idiots.
That was this week.
Yeah, well, it was a while.
But it was so
ago.
cool because it plays Zelda music nonstop.
Yeah, and so the theme music opening
Okay.
your 3DS instead of like a kind of just like a wobbly
No
kind
more
of music.
elevator music.
Yeah, it's the Zelda theme.
And it plays
cool.
like menu when you do the button icons to like navigate and actually confirm stuff. It's Zelda menu
Yeah.
effects. I haven't found any other ones. I'm sure there are other secret sounds hidden in there.
There's no secret sound.
So you've already
Secrets.
downloaded this, is what we're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. I got the blue theme. I highly recommend the blue theme if you have.
Do these
A
cost
black?
99 cents or anything like that?
Colors
or-
are free.
The colors are free. Blue is
Okay.
free, baby. But if you want a brown background with gold stars, you gotta put down some money. End corrections music.
What theme would you go if you could pick one Nintendo game, one Nintendo exclusive game to have a theme of?
That's the thing. I don't want that on my console. I don't want it to be like game specific. Do you know what I mean?
I'd never get it, but I would kind of want a Captain Rainbow theme.
Explain why. Why would you want to make a
It had some fun.
mockery of
It's
your
had some.
3DS?
It's had some fun like music in that game. That would just that would be great to like have that when you open your 3DS, like you're saying, to have the Captain Rainbow theme pop up, and then just bringing back like Bizarro Nintendo characters.
You know, honestly, this might be like a personal issue. I don't like to hang up wall art because I get like sick of it. And so like, I don't want to, there's nothing I can imagine wanting to see every time I open up my 3DS.
No tattoos for Kyle Bossman.
Right.
That's why you get multiple themes.
Yeah, and you can swap them out. Yeah. The PS3 had that. We had a whole theme conversation last week.
Moving on.
Moving on, let's talk about news. Drama. Lots of drama this week.
Drama.
Drama. Video game drama. Here's what happened. Assassin's Creed Unity, everyone. This game we were just talking about comes out November 11th. It's going to be 900p. It's going to be 30 frames per second. Not just on the Xbox One, but also on the PlayStation 4. That's been confirmed. Basically, Ubisoft asserts that there's nothing wrong with that. That basically that's as good as they ever wanted it to be, is what the official statement is. And it's a lot of anger has been returned to that, and like assuming that the Xbox One version was brought down to equal the PS4 version. The PS4 was brought down to equal the Xbox One. My question: is anyone here enraged? Is anyone mad that these two versions are the same?
Enraged? No, I'm pretty far from enraged.
What are you?
I'm curious. I'm curious why. Like, I don't think that's something that's permanent. I think that's something that will eventually go away. Where they're just going to have to. It's the first next-gen game that they've done, exclusively next-gen game that they've done in the Assassin's Creed franchise. So maybe this is just a weird stepping stone to them, like actually being able to push both of these consoles, or having one be separate, or maybe even exclusive or something. But it's just one of those weird decisions at the beginning of a gen that who knows whether they actually all feel that way, or whether. Because there's got to be some people that are pissed at Ubisoft. There's got to be some people that would have those expectations, if we're even talking about it. If us as the press or gamers would have those expectations. But enraged, like, I think it's still going to be a fun game. I think it'll be great. I will never speak for other people, but I have never been that big person like Blu-rays, for example. I have a friend of mine that like his eyes bleed out every time I like don't buy something on a Blu-ray and watch it on like the best DVD player and the best television I can possibly watch. I'm just like. It was cool. Captain America was neat. I didn't need to see it IMAX. I didn't, but I have friends that doesn't, it's like, why wouldn't you absolutely every single time strive to have the absolute best experience you could? And it's like, because that sounds stressful to me. I don't know. Sounds like it would be stressful to be that enraged, for it to take up your whole day of just seething. And it's like, I'm just going to enjoy Unity and it'll be fun. And whatever weird decision they made, they'll have to sleep with it,
It definitely
we'll see if
is-
it affects sales. I don't know.
Stressful is fair. It is stressful to be enraged about that. Blood, what's your feeling? Are you stressed?
I'm not stressed. I think, the way that the statement or whatever that went around was worded is weird. This idea of doing it to not cause drama or whatever.
Right. Maybe I should get on that quote, because who was it? It was Pontbriand. Vincent Pontbriand, senior producer, said that the reason they're equal isn't because it'd be faster, isn't because it would be cheaper, but simply to avoid debates and stuff.
Yeah, that seems like a dumb reason, and I kind of
It's absolutely a dumb reason.
I kind of don't buy it either. Like I feel like it was probably just more efficient on the workflow.
It is. It absolutely is more efficient on
Yeah.
workflow, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But anyways, but yeah, I guess it's weird because they sold the last gen on the 1080p Dream or whatever, and it's still not something that's been standardized. It's like an output, like you're rendering games in a basically non-native output resolution, right? Because it's like you're rendering it, but then you're upscaling it to 1080p, And so that's where the weirdness comes in. It's like, why is it? It's like, yeah, why is it such a marketed thing if it's not going to be a standard thing? So it's a weird.
No, talk more
situation.
about the 1080p dream. Do you feel like that has been marketed? Do you feel like that's been like a thing?
Oh yeah, obviously. I mean, so that's something that's Sony was really pushing when the PS3 came out or was coming out, and as we've known over the years, very few games have actually hit that especially on the PS3, and even now on the PS4 and the Xbox One, there's not that many that are actually doing 1080p. So.
I didn't realize this until I was going through the library.
Uh-huh.
That for a long time they've actually put
it on the back of the
resolution on the
box.
back of boxes,
Yeah.
and I absolutely ignored it for most of my entire life.
But it's not that's not actually the whatever the resolution that they're actually running the game at. They're just upscaling it most of the time.
So most of them are going to say 1080p anyway.
Yeah, well, it was a Halo 3. They said they found it was like 540p or something like that. Back in the day.
No, that's really interesting. That would have been a juicy subject of that week's GT time.
Wouldn't you want
540?
debates though? Like, wouldn't you want people
Yes.
to debate like what?
Well, that's the
console's
thing,
better?
though. It's just caused
Debates
more
and
debates.
stuff.
Like,
I love debates
That's
and
pretty
stuff.
rad.
Kyle
It's like-
Bossman thought it was
Yeah.
worthy of putting on 2 shows this week.
If somebody's arguing about your game and like making headlines, they're like, "Oh, here's another thing we want to talk about," in regards to Assassin's Creed Unity. It's like, great, keep talking about it.
Yeah.
because that's
But-
never negatively
yeah.
going to come back. It's like, oh, it looks better on PS4. Shame on you, Ubisoft. What? That's never going to come back to them.
Yeah.
It's just going to come back to Microsoft or Sony.
At the same time, though, I'm kind of in Brandon's boat. It's where it's like I don't have a huge TV. I think that a lot of times games tend to look better on a smaller monitor anyway. So I have a 20-something inch monitor because I'm not that far away from where where I sit and my monitor aren't that far away from each other.
Do you at least
So
put
for
on
me,
headphones?
like a lot of the times, there's not like this huge disparity between higher resolutions and lower resolutions unless. Actually, I do notice it like if I drop it down on a PC game for sure, it looks blurrier.
Do you at
But
least put on headphones when you're this close to your 21-inch monitor?
I have a surround sound.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's really funny to have a surround sound for a 21-inch monitor.
I don't think it's exactly 21. I think maybe a little bit more than that, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But still,
Yeah.
it's a good monitor, and it's like I see a lot of people that have these big TVs that are like they've got crappy color and all that kind of thing. So, or like we have this huge one here that we use for live streaming, and it's like the live stream probably looks fine for everyone, but I'm like, man, this is just not quite right in terms of the contrast and everything.
No, that to me is interesting because those things do fly over my head, contrast and color, and I think my TV settings are stupid. I think what a lot of people do is the one where the phrase "crush the blacks." You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We go into that mode of our TVs and we're like, oh, this looks good. It's like you were ruining the color. You were ruining what image is being sent to you. I feel like that happens. I feel like I'm one of those idiots. Damiani, do you think there are a lot of idiots like me out there?
I think the safe answer is yes.
Sure. Okay.
I think that's safe to bet.
But I think you're an idiot if you don't care like Blood and I, or if you don't know these things, or if you're not in there like meticulously handling stuff, and you're griping about color,
And you're enraged.
and you're enraged, and you're
Sure.
saying like, hey, this doesn't hold up. Oh, but I don't know. What's that HDMI cable?
I'm
What
not
do I-
gonna
you know?
get too far into it, but yeah, back in the day when the comparison videos were really hot, there was a lot of people telling us to do things that were just wrong.
What are you talking about?
I'm not gonna go too far into it, but yeah, they were giving us advice on how to set up our systems that was wrong, that would have crushed blacks and things like
Oh,
that.
publishers.
Not publishers, like commenters.
Oh, I see. Like, this looks stupid. You need to do this and this and this.
Yeah.
That's funny. You got to be more specific about
They were like
people.
turning on options. Yeah, they were turning on what it wanted us to turn on options. It would have made no difference to the game whatsoever because it was an option for a Blu-ray disc or
Yeah.
something.
Comparison videos. Yeah, it's funny we don't do those anymore, but we do complain about these things. We haven't grown at all. We've not evolved. But basically, what I want to talk about next is not just resolution, but frames per second.
Okay, yes. This
Yeah.
is where
Oh,
it gets
okay,
stupid.
this
This
is
is where it
where-
finally
Oh, yeah,
gets
yeah,
stupid.
We got him. We got
We
him.
got Damiani on board.
So why don't you read the thing?
Okay, so this was an
Yeah.
interview with Tech Radar. This is a different developer on Assassin's Creed Unity. This is Nicholas. Oh my gosh, this last name. That's a capital G, that's a U, that's an E with a little accent over it.
Guerin?
R-I-N.
Guerin?
Let's say Guerin.
Sure.
Guerin. Guerin.
Garan.
Nicolas Guerin?
Anyway, he is the world-level design director. His quote is, "At Ubisoft, for a long time, we wanted to push 60 frames per second. I don't think it was a good idea because you don't gain much from 60 frames per second, and it doesn't look like the real thing. It's a bit like the Hobbit movie. It looked really weird. For those simply listening, Damiani is face palming throughout that entire quote.
Maybe if their combat was better, it would make a bigger difference.
Yeah.
Ouch!
So, not only can the average person tell the difference between 30 and 60 frames in a game, like it's very easy. For any game that relies on any kind of actual like action, it makes a difference. And this is the type of crap that like I hate hearing, where it's a more cinematic look. Like, yeah, that's cool, but you're not making movies, you're making games. And it matters to me if it runs in 60 frames, and whether it's variable or if it's like locked, like a perfect 60 frames a second. And just look back at what happened with DMC. That stupid quote where like the look and feel of 60, but it's really 30 frames a
Is that
second,
where that
and then
came
people
from?
went
That
out,
was
got
from
outraged.
DMC?
Yeah, it's from DMC.
Okay.
Like Capcom.
And then what the PC version came out, and it looks so much better.
Yeah, and then like the PC
So
version runs
much
at 60
better.
frames. Like, hey, look, it looks like normal Devil May Cry now. I was like, okay, cool. Like, where is this? Oh, cool, cinematic. Like games where like you have to move cameras around a lot, where like it's like fast action, where it's fast inputs. It matters when it's only 30 frames and you're not like getting, for people who can actually like see it, which is a lot of people. It makes it really frustrating, and it throws me off. Like playing, a good example, because it's probably the only game I actively play where I feel like I'm qualified to say it matters enough. Sadly, is Final Fantasy XIV. When I was on my old rig and it was running at 30 frames a second, and it would like drop down to that, it fucking sucked. It was terrible. Like it would actually affect my play on some of like the raid stuff. I was like, this is weird to me. Like, yeah, it looks like I'm watching like a movie now because it's like smooth, like, or it's not smooth. It's just like that cinematic look. But when it went back up to 60 frames, like, yes, thank you. This is normal. Like, it's moving at normal speed to me. So for me personally, 60 frames is normal now. And if you go back and play like the old games, like old NES games, you know how people whine about capture now, like the whole like flicker, like you don't see stuff?
Yeah.
It's because games were back then were even running at like 60 frames a second.
Can you be more specific about what has changed in Final Fantasy XIV now that you're at 60? Like performance-wise,
Oh no!
your own,
towards
like,
the end of the
what
life of my
feels
last
different?
computer,
Yeah.
it wouldn't run the game at 60 frames constantly anymore. I don't know. The graphics card was dying.
But I mean, inside the game, how did it affect you?
Like dodging and like movement and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was just like when I have to rotate the camera a lot. I don't use a mouse and keyboard. I use the controller, so the right analog stick. It just didn't seem like it's still the same speed, but like it was just off enough to me that it
To
affected
kind of give
precision.
you an example
yeah.
of how those kind of visual timings can be, what game? It was one of the Ninja Gaiden games where the developer had come into the GT office, and for whatever reason we had it was a professional level monitor, but for whatever reason the monitor had a lot of like lag or whatever processing and stuff on it. The developer could not play Ninja Gaiden correctly on that monitor because there was just too much of a delay in the picture.
So what happened?
We had a monitor. It wasn't going to work.
Cool.
But conversely, I think if you can't actually hit a good 60 frames per second, I do think that locking at 30 is better. Both Forza and Drive Club, they've got like locked down 30 frames per second without any dips. And there have been people that have been mistaking it for 60 just because it's solid and it's not jumping back and forth. And with Assassin's Creed, especially the last two Assassin's Creed games, 3 and 4, they've had variable frame rates, and I've gone to places where like I climb up a tree or in the mast of a ship or something, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's 60 frames per second. This is cool, and then like it just goes away and gets all.
Suddenly there's too much on
Yeah.
screen. Yeah, you're right. That it can be jarring, I guess.
Yeah, when it's jumping back and forth, and like
That's
even
the
the
worst.
Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, I don't think it ever even went down to 30, but because it was going back and forth between like 40 something and 60, it was I was seeing those like changes in the frame rate.
So list of priorities. Locked 60, that's ideal. Locked 30 would be, okay, we'll deal with this. And then unlocked 60 is even worse than locked 30.
I think, I mean, it depends on the
Yeah.
game. It depends on how often, like how much it's dipping, basically. Like
Sure.
Infamous Second Son does try to go 60 and it'll dip below. You can lock it to 30 now in one of the options they added.
Would you do
But
that?
because it's still generally stable, I don't lock it at 30. I
Okay.
prefer to have it on 60. So it's weird. It's a judgment call for sure.
I also want to speak for a second just about like the product that you're doing. Like it's interesting that he brings up Hobbit because like I didn't have a problem with the tech because there were some gorgeous moments in that movie, so watching it at 60 frames per second. But to me, it was bizarre it being, them eating like potatoes off a wooden table, and it's like the wooden table's just, it's like, oh, look at that hard wooden table, and it's like it's weird that it's such an old-timey kind of movie, and yet we're focusing so much on this brand new technology. Whereas if I saw something like Tron Legacy or the new Star Wars movie, there's something where it was like ships or metal or something that was like more tech-based,
Yeah.
and it would seem less like a huge thing that you're asking me to do to embrace this new technology, but looking at like huge beards and cloth, and it was just there's just the wrong type of movie I thought to advertise this new tech. And I think there's a big difference between something like Assassin's Creed Unity and Devil May Cry or Final Fantasy. I think something that's especially like has like just the Japanese style with like tons of colors, very shiny, very glossy, definitely looks way better at 60. But something like hyper realistic looks a little weird, kind of like the uncanny valley I felt in Alien. Whenever I dealt with actual people, it's like, wow, the environment looks great, but like I can't, you look too good. Because it like it just takes me out of it. So I wonder if that's what he's saying, why it looked weird. Because he's like, it just takes me out of the 1700s. Like we're trying to take you back to this really gritty world.
That is kind of an interesting
And when we
thought
put this
because
huge gloss on
like
the
the
grit,
order,
it doesn't
the
match.
order is putting a lot of effort into putting film grain and
Mm-hmm.
vignette and all this kind of stuff on the image to make it look more like a film. And I think that they'll probably be in a similar boat. I don't remember if they've said anything on frame rate. They probably have, but they will probably go for a 30 or 24 even. If they think that fits the feel of being in 1886.
But I cut you off, Mike. What were you saying?
So my thing is like when you talked about like being more like realistic, like for me, movies should be 24 frames. When Hobbit was when I saw it in 48 frames, it just looked like seeing reality. Like we're talking right here, it looked like this. I'm like, that's not, when I go to see a film, the aesthetic, I want it to look like a film because I'm going to see a film. And historically, for majority of film's life, it's been 24 frames. So I was like, all right, this is normal to me. But then when I saw Hobbit in 48, I was like, this looks so wrong. It took 30 minutes to get used to it. And then after another 20 minutes, I just had like a headache. I was like, no, this is not what I want. Like, this is starting to look like a video game to me. I was like, no, like it's moving too fluidly. Like, go back to how like the cinema style was. I like that. With like games, if you're going to actually make a cinematic game where it's not action driven, it's more of like a story based game where you're not doing a lot of like heavy action sequences. It's mostly just like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like maybe like Walking Dead, like those games. I don't feel those games need to run at 60 frames a second. Those
Sure.
games, if they're fine because you're not really playing that much. You're mostly playing it for the story, and that game doesn't necessarily benefit, I think, from being a higher frame rate. But the majority of games which are action based, where you have a lot of like input and a lot of movement, I think it's like a necessity. And like starting from the like for most of us who started on like NES or Super Nintendo, like that's what we're used to seeing. It was like like a high frame rate, and it matters more now that we're in 3D. I feel just because. Like with action games and stuff, like the fluid animations like we like to see. We always criticize that in reviews. Like the animation, it looks so fluid. Now, there's a part of it is actually like character animation, and part of it is like the frame rate helping it. And as you said, Daniel, when like the frame rate jumps around too much, I think that's what bugs me the most. Like
Sure.
when it's not
It's
locked.
janky.
Yeah, when it's not locked, that sucks the most. But like if you can get as close to 60 and like hover in there like from the 55 to like 60 range, I'd rather have that than locked 30. But if you're like going all over the place, like if you're dipping down close to 30 again, it's like just give me the option. But I guess I wish I had more developer insight to explain why it's so difficult on some of these games to hit 60 frames like locked.
And
like
to play devil's
yeah.
advocate, there's a lot of stuff going on in Unity. There are a lot of people
Yeah.
walking around. Like that is something that I definitely want people to notice. That going through this, just actually noticing, not just like, oh, they just flunked a lot of people in here. It's like some of these people are watching this show and directly commenting on the stuff that's happening. Like they're just watching the beheadings. These other people are all having a conversation over here, and you can hear them in French and put subtitles and like follow what they're saying.
And that was primarily Vincent Pontrian's defense. Is like, hey, the AI is crushing it right now.
Yeah.
And like I think he said we could do 100 frames per second if there was no AI and it was just graphics. But we want brains. We want artificial brains walking around.
So I don't think they're making it like they might not be making a blanket statement for like this is Ubisoft policy, but like in the case of this, historical game where we're trying to take you back in time and make you believe that you're in this world. Making it super hyper realistic might not be the ticket to pulling you in, to really making you feel immersed.
Yeah, it's weird. I think
It makes a good glossy looking pretty video game, but it might not work for that style.
The only thing I'll just add to that is just the only reason I think some people get worked up when it comes to frame rates is when these like games eventually get ported to PC, which is supposed to be where they're supposed to look the best. They come out, they're not at 60 frames, and then someone like Durante comes out and does like a Dark Souls patch, and all of a sudden it's like at a smooth 60 like that. It wasn't like that. There's a little bit more work to it than people made it out to be.
Yeah.
But someone was able to do it, and people then look back at developers like, you are a business, you have a development team. How did you not do this? But dedicated people who wanted to see it were able to get it up and running at that. I think that's where some of the kind of the misunderstanding, kind of like the resentment towards developers when they don't hit that 60 frames, especially when it comes to PC games.
Yeah, it is. I think it's honestly that balance of how much will this cost us and how much will this make us. And I think the sad reality is it won't make them a lot of money to make all that effort to go from 30 to 60.
Because I bet the guy worked really hard on that, and you have to wonder, like, well, how much would it have cost if that guy who made that patch had worked there and done something other than do that, like.
They should all pay for
Taking the time.
Durante. Everyone should hire Durante for sure.
Yeah, just consultation firm.
Yeah,
Make a billion.
I can't even imagine those metrics of like, will our game review better if it's 60 as opposed to 30? Will that review affect sales? It's all a mess.
And they're officially saying it doesn't matter to us. It's like they're trying to get that in everyone's heads.
They're
Just
not-
like,
they're not
it
just
doesn't
saying-
matter.
They're
It's
not-
fine.
I
30's
guess
fine.
I guess I would love it if they said 30 is fine. It doesn't matter to us. What they're saying is 30 is better, and I think that's where it's like
Sure.
a little like, hold on. I don't know. Basically, I think that we like films to look like films because all of the films we've seen have been 24. Do you know what I mean? And I think we have some sort of expectation of what a film looks like, and so I don't know. I think
I definitely don't like when the TVs do that weird thing, like the new TVs.
120 hertz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where they like try to like make the films look like that or whatever. It's like, what are you even doing?
But I think our grandkids are gonna be fine with it.
If they
Sure,
start
it's gonna
watching
take
it
a
that
while.
way,
Yeah, exactly,
it probably
yeah.
will. Yeah.
I think they're gonna.
I always feel like this films especially should be kept the way that they were shot, aspect ratios and all of that kind of thing. Yeah.
But I think that's just the way our dumb brains are accustomed to them, though.
But I mean, if they were shot that way and they had a vision that way.
Blood's an archivist. He's our librarian. So you're not gonna
our
wrestle that away from him.
Oh my gosh, more drama. Next news story, we got more
Wow.
drama. It's just getting thicker.
Okay.
Drive Club was released this week. The intent with Drive Club was to release a full version of the game and a PlayStation Plus version of the
Right.
game, which was promised to launch with the PlayStation 4. You'll get a free version of Drive Club when this console comes out. So here we are, 11 months later. Drive Club was not released this week as a free version for PS Plus members due to server issues.
Yeah.
The
No.
game was pulled.
No, I have insight onto this for sure.
Ooh, what's your insight onto this?
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, funny story about my review. I played last week. I was online the whole week,
Yeah.
and I'd been seeing intermittent server issues and stuff like that. But of course, like they're telling me is like, yeah, we're working on the servers and everything like that. And so I was like, I never know like when these issues. I wasn't clear like on when these issues were like really issues or whether somebody was just like pulling wires, backstage somewhere, right? So I was like, I was like really hesitant about commenting on these issues in the review
Oh, because most of them are temporary.
because I didn't know
get
like,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
when this goes live, will this even be anything, or
Right,
am I just
right,
going to be like talking out of the air? But I'm glad I kept them in there because now that it's gone live, since launch day, I have not been able to be online at all. There's like a queue of people trying to, like when somebody goes off, then somebody else can get an online connection and that kind of thing.
It's like a club. It's like a dance club.
It's kind of weird, yeah. So
Drive Club is a dance club.
yeah, so there are a lot of people out there that are not experiencing the game the way it's intended
Yeah.
because they're not in a club, they're not getting that XP into the club as they're going through the single player, and which means that they're not unlocking certain cars, and then you're not getting all the challenges and stuff back and forth, which I think it's going to be weird for those people that like are going to end up getting through the entire single player campaign and then the challenges, because they're not going to be all happening at the same time.
Blood, may I use the word unacceptable?
It's a bit
What is the problem? Why?
It's more.
I can defend
apparently there's more demand than they expected.
Yeah,
and
I can totally
actually-
defend it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the weird thing is my Drive Club review in like just a couple of days has already done more than the Forza Horizon 2 review.
Oh,
So it does
what does
show.
that mean? What is,
I
get
mean,
out of here
I
with
think
that.
it shows that there's more people that are curious about Drive Club. They knew what
There's
to
more.
expect.
There's more drama. That's for sure.
There
Yeah,
absolutely
they knew what
drama.
to expect out of
Drama.
Forza. They didn't know what to expect out of Drive Club.
All right, Brandon, let's hear your
But-
defense. Let's hear your defense of this.
Um,
Why is it okay that people can't use a primary feature of this game right now?
Because purchasing servers and setting up servers to run an online game is nothing that any of us in this industry have ever done, ever.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's pretty awesome when we can get up on our high horse and be like, this shouldn't have happened. It's like, oh really? How many server farms have you run? Like, do you understand? Do you have any idea like how this stuff works? And keep in mind, like I'm sure there's somebody out there that's a fan of the show that's like, wow, Brandon doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't. I do not buy servers. I don't run them. But I do know that it's kind of like stocking your fridge. It's like sometimes your fridge has too much crap in it, sometimes it doesn't, and it all depends on demand. And so that scales up, and it just there's going to be more people playing each game. They're going to need more servers, and those baby steps, as far as incrementally deciding how much you're going to buy and how that affects how much your game is going to sell and how much you're budgeting to make your game.
Yeah.
There's no perfect science for it because it's all based on question mark number of people that on any given day are going to decide to play your game.
Yeah.
And there's no way to quantify that. If you knew the answer to that, then you'd know the answer to marketing. Then you'd know the answer to every. It's like. You'd be able to just sit back and coast through the entire development process because it's just like, oh, we have all the answers right there. Like, that's the big question. How many people are going to buy our game? We don't know, And that blows my mind. Games that, as a gamer, because I'm always cooped up here at HQ, and over the last 2 or 3 months, I've gone out and met a lot of people in the games industry that I've never met before, and it's hilarious to me to meet people on the dawn of a game that's about to come out that I'm like, man, this game is going to be gangbusters, and they're like, you think? And I'm like, well, you really? You're this scared? Like right before it comes out? Like they have no idea. It's like we can hope.
I don't know. I would think they'd have a little bit better metrics on it with all the people that were preloading and everything like that. It's
There's
weird.
metrics and then there's money. It's like
Yeah.
it's like they can make whatever case they want, but they have to convince their publisher, their parent company, or whatever to be like, no, we need to do this. And I mean, case in point, Call of Duty is a great example of that. Like they have a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of power, and it's very rare that you hear something weird happening because they just blow out that budget. But they're like, we cannot afford for this game not to work on that weekend. Whereas everybody else's, Drive Club got delayed. There were all these weird issues with it, and so it's like we can't. This is not something that we're just gonna, put as much money as we possibly can into because this just has to work. It's like, no, let's be very conservative. We'll see how it does, and then we'll adjust it after that.
Yeah, the analogy I was going to make was you got a wedding, you buy too much food. You know you're getting too much food, you just buy too much food. It's a wedding. And then you have lots of leftovers and you're like, it's okay. However, you're right, these are businesses. It's
You
not,
get married once in your life. These
Yeah.
guys have to release games every
Yeah, exactly.
3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 months.
Yeah, I get the sympathy. I do.
I'm not saying they didn't make a mistake. Every
Yeah.
time this happens, every time servers don't work, somebody screwed up. Somebody didn't do the math correctly. I just forgive that mistake, especially if, like you're saying, like you address the issue. You jump out in there with your community and we say, we know it's not working. We're
Yeah.
on it. Even Hearthstone doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll jump on and it's like, it's funny to see my wife get all pissed off. Just like, what's this? And it's like, come on. I mean, the fact is this shop is open 24/7. This is a game you can play any old time.
Wait, does your wife
Sometimes
play
it's
too?
gotta, oh, my wife's all over Hearthstone, man. Yeah, my wife
I didn't
destroys
know
me
that.
at that game.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I like build my own decks and we're like, I'm happy that I won with this deck a couple of times because I built it by myself. And she's like, no, she's got all her expert. She's got one Death Rattle deck that's just like, there's no way, there's nothing to do. You can get lucky sometimes, but it's just,
I like that you're willing to build your own decks. To me, that's the fun of it. It's just like, okay, I got to.
Because I got to get better at these games. I'm terrible
yeah,
at
yeah.
card games, so I'm like trying to educate myself. But it just, even the biggest companies in the world, sometimes it doesn't go wrong, or sometimes the servers just don't work.
So I want to pull back for a sec, and I want to look at. Let's talk about Sony right now. Let's talk about Sony's fall, Sony's exclusives. We have Drive Club, and we have Little Big Planet 3. It's not like those aren't huge games.
They're not.
It doesn't
well,
feel-
I mean, like I said, I think that. I mean, I'm curious to see what Drive Club's numbers will be like because I feel like there's a lot of like it seems like there's more demand than they expected
Exactly.
from this.
It kind of seems like
But
they
at
didn't
the
think it
same
would be a
time,
huge
like
game.
you have this like really divisive reactions to it in terms of like the other reviewers. Like there are people that went really low and like that's like not even reality
right.
to me.
5
Like,
out of 10, no
5
soul.
out of 10, 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you guys, a ton of those people rated Split Second higher than I did, and I'm like, that has way less stuff in it than Drive Club, and it got boring fast.
Split
But-
Second has soul, Mr. Bloodworthy.
It did, but after half the campaign, it got repetitive. But
You're a true reviewer. I really appreciate that.
but man, yeah, it's just it's disappointing that like a key part of the reason it was delayed was to make all of the social stuff work, and it's not working.
I'm sure they're crushed. I'm sure they're
Yeah.
very unhappy about it not working. But probably excited about all the money coming in
Yeah.
from
But
sales.
then Little Big Planet 3. Does anyone care?
I do care.
I mean, I hope it's good.
Hugh Laurie was just
but-
announced as a voice actor this week.
Oh, that's cool.
There's another mini news story, a sub news story. I think that's pretty cool. But exactly, who cares about that game? It seems like Sony. I guess what I wanted to get at is it seems like Sony doesn't care about Drive Club, and it seems like Sony doesn't care about Little Big Planet. It doesn't seem like they're pushing.
That
them
is
very
true.
hard.
Like I don't feel like I've seen any kind
Yeah.
of push on Little Big Planet, and that's
Right.
why I don't care. Is because I don't know. You've got the extra characters, cool, and they control better. That's great, but I don't know. Other than that, I don't know why I should be excited for it.
Hugh Laurie. Multiple characters, right? Yeah, exactly. It's on next-gen consoles. Exactly that. And I wonder, to the panel, do you think that Sony's fall right now is an intentional choice, to give room to third-party developers, or is this clearly like they wanted a better fall, but next-gen development is hard and they had to delay everything out of it?
I'll buy that.
Yeah, they
Just to
definitely
start
delayed
things
the
out.
order. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need to go on and on about it.
Right.
I think it's pretty simple. I mean, they're in the lead. They're doing great. This isn't going to really hurt them. And like you're saying, like they don't. Granted, I didn't play a lot of Little Big Planet 2. I played a lot of the first game, but I don't. You saying it's next gen for the first time, I think is the first time I really registered that. So I think that's probably the best sell that they have. If they had waited and this was Little Big Planet 2, like coming out on the next console, and they approached Little Big Planet as something more of like, this is this new concept that we've done, and you can run with this through the whole gen and just have a lot of fun. But if it's like every now and then you're going to get an update or a sequel, who knows? Some will be bigger than others, maybe. It's like
Yeah.
just kind of.
And it's also,
like,
I think, it has that weird little bit. There's, it's not a media molecule
Right.
working on it, so
and it's just a bunch of new characters. They're like, and some other tiny little updates.
it
It's like,
feels
you need
kind of
something
more like
else.
an expansion pack for whatever reason.
It
yeah.
absolutely does feel like that. It doesn't feel like Sackboy is Sony's Mario. It doesn't get that kind of treatment, And I guess, do you think it deserves that kind of treatment, or is this probably the smart way to handle that game?
That might feel weird if they were really playing it up.
Right.
And they were really talking about like Little Big Planet is like their big thing
Yeah.
for this season. That would feel weird, I think. So maybe it's smart.
It's definitely a game that has, what the long tail or whatever. Like people will keep buying it later, not just at launch, but down the road because it is a good family-friendly game, and you plop it in and play, with your kids on the couch, or you can get online and play with, your siblings or whatever. And I've definitely run into a lot of people that play Little Big Planet that, it's like, oh really? Like I wouldn't have thought they would.
That's funny.
It's a good game to get free on Plus in like a year.
No. I don't like that. That actually really bugs me.
It also has. I mean, this is kind of maybe a negative thing to some people, but it also has a long tail in terms of all the stuff that they put out for download, all the costume packs and level packs, and
They've already shown the Metal Gear Solid 5 costumes, and they're really
Yeah.
cool.
So you need to have that, which is again why it feels like something that they felt the need to do. It was like, okay, we'll do that, as instead of like, no, wait, you should be really excited because we're doing this brand new crazy thing that we've never done before. It's just like, nope, another one, more stuff.
Yeah, it
That's
does
what
feel like that.
That's what it feels like to me.
Damiani, are you disappointed in how Sony's handled this fall? This is the big fall. This is the holiday season.
They have nothing coming out.
Are you disappointed by that?
Yeah, I'm a little bummed. It's like no big games coming out that I care about. I think they're just waiting for Bloodborne. I think all the money and all the efforts is like, hey, February. It's not too
agree.
long from now. Guess what? After November's done, it's gonna be like Bloodborne. You've wanted this game. You've been waiting for this game. Like, this is the reason you bought your PS4. It's time. Like, get hyped. Start celebrating. You'll
Yeah.
be playing this game for like the next year nonstop.
I hope the promotion hits hard when it's.
I think they
Bloodborne
are.
time.
Like that's the game that like that's the big game that like they always like headline. It seems like with all their like press conferences now. It's like this is the one you've been waiting for. It's like we all think it's Last Guardian, and all of a sudden it's Bloodborne. It's like, all right, that's pretty awesome, but that's how they view it. Sony views this as like, hey guys, this is huge. This is our Zelda. This is our Call of Duty. Like, come and get it. Like, this is gonna be awesome.
Come and get it. Yeah. It's not our little Panther. Forget about that thing. That's a silly little
Yeah.
kids game. We love Bloodborne.
Look where that thing's gone from
Or
like
Zelda, yeah,
Demon
exactly.
Souls over, with a different publisher
Yeah.
in here to like now it's Dark Souls and then to Bloodborne. It's like the evolution of the popularity of that game in such a like 4 or 5 year time span. How like big that's become.
Yeah, they fought hard.
Who
for
would have
it, I
thought
think.
like a game like that type of game would become like this is like one of the marquee titles that
Good point.
we're pushing.
Because Demon Souls was Atlas. It was
Well,
way.
no, it
It was
localized.
Localized.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was- but
They,
it was
they did it, but it was Sony in
Sony's.
Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like Sony didn't care to publish
Oh
it.
yeah,
That's
that
true.
was basically the message with,
Yeah.
with Demon Souls. But like Atlas, I think a little bit of credit does go to Atlas, especially in the West, for like pushing that game. And like
yeah.
it took off and became like I think up until a certain point their best-selling game they published in North America.
Cool.
And yeah, and all of a sudden when Dark Souls came around, people were like, wait, this is like the next sequel to that Demon Souls game I kept hearing about, and it just like built from there. It was like wow. I do feel a little bad that like Atlas got like not much they could do because they were just like a publisher, but man.
It's like a small record label.
Now
You
it's
just
Bloodborne.
gotta roll with it. You can't.
Like 5 years from now, you'd be like, remember those like Dark Souls? They're gonna be like a footnote to like the Bloodborne series. Like Bloodborne's gonna be like the giant AAA series. Remember those days when we just played like the Souls games and stuff, and when Souls was cool. Now like on Bloodborne 2, like Medieval Warfare. That
Yeah.
series really went south fast.
that series. I mean, it is interesting. Like when we think of Destiny, we think of that as the beginning of a series. With Bloodborne, I think of Bloodborne isolated as its own game. But you're right, that's a series.
Are we gonna still get more Souls games?
I
Even
think
though
absolutely.
Bloodborne's happening?
I think Bandai Namco wants them so bad. You know what I
Okay.
mean? They're working well for them. So yeah, I bet those two will continue on separately.
Every other year. The Treyarch developed Souls. Yeah.
The Treyarch
Alternating
developed
years.
Souls.
Soul
man.
series.
Zombie Mac Pack.
So while we're deep into Damiani Troll Zone, let's move to our next news story. Right up his alley. Kingdom Hearts 3.
Wait now,
yes.
is he laughing at what you were talking about, or can you literally just say that at any time? Can I just walk
can
into
just
his
walk down
office
his
and like,
cubicle,
hey,
yeah.
Damiani, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Kingdom Hearts 3 will be using Unreal Engine 4. While previously this game was announced to be using Square Enix's own engine called Luminous Engine.
Oh, Square Enix.
So
Why
Damiani,
you
yeah,
do
make
this
this
to
clear to
me?
us. Why are you laughing? What's going on?
So like on multiple layers, why this is amusing. How much money and time went down the drain into Luminous and whatever the hell. And this is now the second time that they've tried to develop an in-house engine, and it's just like, nope, we're not going to use it for
First
like
one
1
was
year.
Crystal Engine. What was it
Crystal
called?
Tools.
Crystal
In
Tools.
Final Fantasy 13, and it's like, oh cool, Crystal Tools. Oh, no, we're not using that anymore after 13. That's Luminous Engine. Oh man, amazing showing at E3 2012, and like this Agnes Philosophy demo. This is the future. Excited. And like one of the lead guys, Hashimoto, the part he worked for Sega before.
Was that 2013?
No, it was 2012. E3 2012 was Agnes Philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was E3 2012.
Definitely 2 years ago, yeah.
And then so
Okay.
Hashimoto, this guy from Sega who actually worked on one of the Sonic engines for like Sonic Unleashed, I believe.
Dude, that's a beautiful game. You know I love Sonic Unleashed.
He moved over to that team, but like interviewing that guy, very candid, understood Final Fantasy games were taking too long. Like 13's development was trash. Like should not have taken that long. I had a lot of faith, and like at the time they led into like Bravely Default, they led into A Realm Reborn, and all of a sudden like that guy departs from the team, and then there's rumblings that there's issues with Luminous Engine, and then Final Fantasy 15 was announced or unveiled. It's like, wow, man, things are going really well. Like forget this stuff like going wrong over there. Well, actually, 15 was announced first, then the guy departed earlier this year.
Yeah.
But like they had all this build up, and all of a sudden, the wheels started coming off. It's like, hey, the guy departs from the team. We didn't see anything of Final Fantasy 15 at E3. Oh, Kingdom Hearts 3 got a little like story VO thing at the end of the like 2.5 trailer. It's like, well, okay, what happened? Where's all these games? And at TGS, it's like, hey, it's back. Here's like gameplay, but like
it looks sweet.
But Nomura's not on it anymore. It's Tabata taking over, and this happened this happened a while ago actually. And now we find out that like Nomura's on Kingdom Hearts 3, and they had that quote that said like we're having trouble with the engine and stuff that came out, and then all of a sudden it's like it's because we're going over to Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, Square Enix, twice now. You've wasted how many years and how much money on in-game engines when you could have just used someone else's
In-house
engine.
engines, yeah.
Just use middleware and just go through the normal process like everyone else and get your games out faster. But on the other level, there's a bunch of people are like, oh no, Unreal Engine, they all look the same. So all Unreal games look the same. Now like Final Fantasy's gonna look like an Unreal game and it's gonna look the same as everything else.
I don't think it's a valid concern. That, I think, there's no way.
I mean, every game kind of looks like Unreal.
No, I blame art directors for that. When you look at like
Yeah.
how solid the art direction is in those two series, Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, they're so distinct
You
that I
just,
don't think.
you just have to go through like the list of games that have used like Unreal in the past. Like there are games that clearly buck the. They have a good, or let me say, they have a different aesthetic than you're used to associating with the so-called Unreal look, which
I
gets
think
a
is-
bad rap.
Honestly, it's fair sometimes. Like Transformers were for Cybertron. Sometimes gross stuff happens. You're like, oh, Unreal. Like when it's like a texture like loading in all blurry and gross and everything. I don't think that's a problem with Unreal Engine 4. Everything so far has been gorgeous.
Yeah, they even have
Yeah.
like there's a good like tech demo out there that shows like a more. It looks like what's that? Rhyme. That's the new one coming out. It looks kind of. It might have actually been Rhyme. It looks like Rhyme. It looks like that kind of like cell shaded look. It's really good looking. I was like, all right, that's possible with Unreal Engine 4.
And it's distinct.
Yeah, and the other thing is like they said like they're working hand in hand with Epic Games, like get Kingdom Hearts' engine up and running on Unreal Engine 4, and it sounds like Epic's gonna like leap at this, like wow, Square Enix is coming to us, like finally, like a big Japanese developer is coming to us, like this is it, like this is our foothold to get the other Japanese developers to follow, like they want this to like work out with Square Enix.
Tekken 7 also using Unreal
Yeah.
Engine, which is really
It's,
interesting.
I mean, it's a good sign, but I think this Kingdom Hearts 3 using it, I think is a bigger deal. I think that is a huge thing, especially if it doesn't take too long to come out now. If we see that game by 2016 somehow, and it's on Unreal Engine 4, and it's somehow like actually the aesthetic looks really good still, and it's a done deal. Like you're gonna see like almost every other Japanese publisher being like, all right, forget our in-house engines. Like,
Well-
we're going with like middleware and stuff.
About the game coming out soon. So this news story was released in Famitsu with an interview with Nomura. They asked him, how the game's coming along. Here's the quote: "Right now, we're doing the scenario writing and world selection. I'm also making the new outfits for Sora and Riku."
This is typical Nomura stuff. I mean, have you not seen what he's been working on lately? Did you not see the new Catwoman figure he designed? Have you seen the new Hatsune Miku he designed? That
Oh
guy
my
is
God.
like designing. You're gonna see Hatsune Miku outfit in Final Fantasy 15 and
Here's the
Kingdom
thing.
Hearts 3.
He's great. He's really good at those things. I actually like his weird Catwoman and Batman.
Catwoman's
action
gonna be
figures.
a villain in Metal Gear Rising 2.
I
It looks like a boss.
That is highly discouraging to me, that quote. That to me insinuates that this is far, far early, very early in development. World selection, that's like the first thing you do. The director of this game said in an interview, "Oh, I'm designing the new outfits." The director of the game.
I think I don't know. I think there's going to be more watchful eyes on him. I don't think that's. I don't think it's going to take as long as people think it is.
I
this time.
should hope so.
I think that time is over.
And I think honestly, going to Unreal Engine will make it move along swiftly. I hope development. You know what I mean? Like Tekken 7 is playable right now, which is crazy because it was nothing a year ago. I feel like, and so that's crazy. Yeah, it does speed along development. It's a good engine, basically. I don't know, Brandon. Have you ever heard of a director of a game single-handedly designing the outfits for its main characters? Though.
I'm actually going to abstain from talking about Nomura. Sure. You don't want me.
He said this about Versus 13 a while ago. There's a huge article that said like I finally finished design of the characters.
Oh, I
Character
remember that,
design
yeah.
is now complete. I was like, oh, okay.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I recognize that it might make me sound closed-minded because those things are important. Your character designs are incredibly important with a video game, and he at least has a style. He has a unique thing that he is going for, and so yeah, there is that. I guess I can see why it's important to design the new
Yeah,
outfits.
like Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, Sora had like a different look in each. It was pretty important.
Yeah.
They gotta get it right, and they gotta get it right in 3.
I can
Sora
imagine
has to look
Sora's look
different,
in Cage 3
and it's-
being like one of the major factors.
And plus, they gotta deal with Disney. You know, it's like Disney owns the shoes, and like Square Enix owns like the shirt, and like
The shoes are a little too big this year. Yeah, all right, Disney.
kidding.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like,
that whole
it's like
joke
that,
that, like, they-
announcement, like revealing like what he, his new sword and like the Keyblade and everything, like that new style, like that's enough to hold that game for like 5 months. Like after you announce that, you don't have to say anything for that game, and that's what frustrates me
maybe
about
he's
that.
designing like the world stuff's kind of important too, because they have to go through Disney for that stuff. And there have been hints like people were just straight up reporting in Japan like, oh, Frozen's gonna be in the new one, and they had to
Sure,
go
of
like, we've not said anything about Frozen being in the game at this point. We have not selected Frozen, but you have to imagine like all these new properties, like people like you got to do Toy Story, you got to do Toy Story, like. You know how Disney is with like crossing over their franchises. They're very like apprehensive to doing that. Like Infinity felt like the like
No
one
way.
of the they made a
Yeah,
whole
but
speech
like
about
Pirates
Infinity.
wasn't in there because it was relevant. Like Pirates was in there because those movies were out. So
Yeah.
it's like they're gonna, Big Hero 6
Di-
is going to be a world.
But like Disney,
Frozen's
yeah.
gonna be a world.
But like Disney is just like,
Like,
very like selective about
Finding
what they
Nemo's
want in
gonna
there.
be a world because then that
don't
one
know.
new sequel's coming out. Like,
That show Once Upon a Time on ABC.
don't. Why are you bringing up all of these things I hate more than life itself?
Because they did a Frozen episode of Once Upon a Time on
I know,
ABC.
dude. No, don't.
So remember like the Little Mermaid like musical sequence. You're gonna have that Frozen musical sequence.
That's
in
actually a
Kingdom
good
Hearts.
idea. That's a good
Sora
idea. Yeah,
and
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know any of the characters in Frozen. I'm sorry, I have not seen it.
The snowman, the moose.
They're all gonna like sing and stuff
Yeah, yeah,
together.
yeah.
There's gonna be a giant musical sequence in there.
It's just like it's like a Katamari. It literally like reminds me of Katamari. A giant snowball that just eats everything. That, like it doesn't matter if it makes sense. Just like I'm gonna get you and then you, and you get like a story of a remake of a movie, of a reference of a thing that's now partners with another thing that was inspired by another franchise, but other characters between
man.
them, and it's
I
just
think
like
that's way cynical. What about like Steamboat Willie level in Kingdom Hearts 2?
it's great, but I don't. Steamboat Willie doesn't have a plot. Like you don't think about the lore of Steamboat Willie like that really matters to you. Whereas like there are people that the lore of Kingdom Hearts really matters to them, and the lore of Kingdom Hearts, I really have to try. And I know the whole damn thing. I'm not like an outside advisor. I produced the Kingdom Hearts timeline with you when we worked on that. I read that script a billion times. Like I'm really
You probably know
I'm
more
on the ground level. Like I'm
I mean, the Disney
But,
worlds aren't necessarily like integral to the story, which is kind of like sad they didn't go that route. They tried a little bit with one,
With the princesses.
with the princesses, and
Yeah.
Maleficent being pretty much the main villain until the end. And who knows if they do something again because she's still kind of like hanging around. But I think one of the big like reveals of Kingdom Hearts and the big deal is what worlds are they going to pick. And it's not because of the story; it's because you want to go play in that world and see like these Square Enix characters mingling with Disney characters.
but it's like Smash Brothers. Like imagine if there was like a whole cult of people that was like way into Smash Brothers. Like when Subspace Emissary came out, I was like, oh, this is it. This is oh man, this is bigger than the Mario games. You're like, what are you talking? What? No, it's that mode where they all get together and you can have fun. It was like, no. This is a whole. Forget the next Zelda game. It's about Subspace Emissary, and it's like, no, it didn't happen because. I don't know, those characters are a different vibe or something, or maybe they're already games related, so it doesn't feel like such a weird crossover. But to me, that's what Kingdom Hearts should have been. It should have been like, it's just fun that they're together. Don't take this too seriously, because it doesn't make sense. And they're like,
Well,
now
You
Anna.
cannot-
Yeah, I
You
mean,
cannot say
that's the
that.
kind of thing. Like
So
they
funny.
had been kind of pushing away the Disney shit.
Right.
Like the Disney shit is almost like secondary to whatever the actual story is in those games, which is kind of sad. And then Final Fantasy characters have been pushed even further to the side. It's like
Yeah.
Oh, they weren't even in
new,
it. They were
that
barely
new
in it to the
2.5
get-go.
trailer that they just put out is like the Final Fantasy characters in there in like 2 scenes. It's like I think Squall and Aerith talk once, and then you see a shot of like Cloud and I forget the other Cloud and Sora like back to back, and it's like wait. These were like big deals. Now it's like no, like it's not even like that big
It
of
was
a deal
weird.
anymore.
The
it kind of sucks.
The 10-2 characters were just fairies in that game.
Yeah, it's come on, like you gotta get back to that. Like I want Avengers in there, I want Star Wars in there, I want Disney characters in there. Like I want to sort of like I want it to be a giant party and stuff. Like it's like main villains are like coming out. They got like time travel shit. They got like 13 members. They got a whole army. It's like it's time for the good guys to get some like reinforcements here. It's like time to call in the Avengers. It's like coming
Yeah.
in and help and
Yeah.
stuff. Call in the Jedi. It's like what's up? Play as Mickey.
Yeah, and I apologize to anybody who's really into I don't want to discourage anyone who loves Kingdom Hearts and be like, you're dumb or you don't know what you're talking about. Bless you for loving that series. And if they came out, like, if they had like a mobile game, if they came out a 3DS game that was literally just Sora goes to Disneyland, like, I would play that 5 times. You know, so
That's a good
I
idea.
understand just like being in love with something and
That's a good idea.
and cherishing each installment of it. But yeah, tangent.
Tangent. Okay, that is all of our news for this week. We always end on a tangent. But you didn't talk too much about that, though.
I'm not that into Kingdom Hearts. I haven't played them.
Whoa. Okay, someone's too cool for a Disney RPG. Let's do our bets. Let's do our closing bet for this week. Borderlands, the pre-sequel launches next week. Could be big or could be nothing. It's weird. I really don't know how to gauge that, how big that release will be.
Yeah. Speaking of, my review's going to be late. I won't go into why it's nothing wrong with the game or anything like that. Just weird technical behind-the-scenes stuff.
You heard it here first.
So
Breaking
sorry.
news.
Partly my fault. Partly not under my control.
Blood's a slacker. You heard it here first.
This is one of my favorite questions to ask as a bet. What is the runtime of the launch trailer?
Of what?
Borderlands, the pre-sequel.
Okay.
Damiani, you may choose whether to go first or last.
I'll go last.
Okay. Mr. Bloodworth.
3 minutes and 2 seconds.
Okay. I love those 2 seconds.
2:30.
Trailer expert makes a very wise choice. I think trailers are trending down. I'm going to say 1 minute, 50 seconds. Michael Damiani.
Ooh. 2 minutes.
2 minutes flat.
Mm.
Okay, those are our bets. Let's lock them in. Okay, last week's bet is how many Yaz Sakurai's launch day post. He always posts to Miiverse every day, every weekday. He's posting to Miiverse. He's saying, here's a little thing about Smash Bros. And then so on the release date for the 3DS, he had a big one. How many Yaz would that get? This post had a record 11,629 Yaz.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Yaz. That's a high above average. And as a result of that, one of my least favorite things happened. Michael Damiani won a bet by using the number 7.8. He bet 7,800. That was our highest bet. Michael Damiani, you won that bet.
Should probably reveal. I think I made like a secret deal. Like 7.8 is like this magic number that always wins.
It's
Seven-
like lost.
seven is a very
it's
popular
terrifying.
number.
Yeah. 7.8 though. A lot of us bet in the sevens, but Damiani bet highest with the 7.8.
If you went out into the world and asked 1,000 people to pick a number, 7 would be the
It's a
biggest
lucky number. Yeah.
It's just that number.
7.8.
People dig it.
But 7.8, it is. It's like lost. It's like keep
It's like
coming
it's
back.
kind of like
yeah.
the universe is telling me that I was right with that
It's
score.
not at all what the universe is doing.
Yeah, I feel like
it's asking you to
just
reconsider.
reinforcing this. Like, what a good number you picked. Like, keep believing in that number.
No, I think the universe is
Don't
saying
listen to all those people out there who are these crazy, insane people who don't know any better.
like a nearly flawless game. Like as close to perfect as a game can become. And it's like, let's give it a 7.
I mean, you're talking about A Link to the Past.
I'm talking about Wind Waker. Okay, so Michael Damiani, I should shut up because you have now earned the right to close out the show and plug any video you want.
Yeah, I kind of wish I thought of a troll for you.
I bet you didn't expect to win.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I kind of didn't. Man, the end this troll perfectly would have been to like plug the Wind Waker HD review. I really don't want to do that. So, man, I don't know what video to plug. I really didn't think I was gonna win.
What's Pop Fiction this week?
No, there's Pop Facts this week, but wait, there's something else we're doing. Whoa, what did we do recently?
Tales of Hearts.
Tales of Hearts is up, although I'm gonna be honest, like they just sent us 40 minutes of footage to watch and basically narrate. I was like, I wish I actually got to play that. No, you know what? People should watch our. Oh, we haven't done it yet, and this is gonna be up today. Damn it!
You can do future videos. You can plug a future
No, I
video.
didn't tell people to watch the stream, Dave. I forgot this goes up tomorrow.
Well, you can say watch our live streams every day.
You know what? I'm gonna tell people to look forward to watching our Smash Brothers Wii U review. In a
Wow.
month from
Okay.
now.
Okay.
That's the largest
Remember
future
this
plug.
date.
Please enjoy.
It's not a hint. Because I don't know what score I'm giving that game, but if it somehow gets a 7.8,
It's not going to get a 7.
Oh, actually, I hope not.
then the universe is cool.
You might have to have some editorial oversight.
By the way, sorry.
Okay,
Before,
so we'll-
before you
who's in
close
charge
out,
here?
before
We'll
you close
do
out
the
the show,
real.
I got to do our tallies.
Okay, do it.
And then think about an actual video you want to play.
I will.
Okay, Brandon Jones has 3 points. Kyle Bossman has 6. Michael Damiani now has 8, only 2 behind Daniel Bloodworth at 10 points. You're creeping up on him with your 7.8s. I feel like you've won 4 7.8 bets.
I know.
Okay.
All right, so if you haven't watched already, go watch this week's Pop Facts episode. It's another one that has to deal with the Star Fox Easter egg, giving Star Fox some love because Nintendo needs to make another good Star Fox game.
And I didn't know this one. It's a good one.
Oh, cool.
That was very clever.
Yeah, some people might say it's like a stretch, but I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like what it is.
I like it.
So yeah, check it out. If you already knew it, that's cool. Not all of them are unique and unknown things.
It's just a spotlight. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it goes along with like what we did the last week one with Bayonetta 2. And if you don't care about spoilers, you should watch that one too, because that Easter egg is mind blowing. Just use the Star Fox outfit in the final level of the game when you get there if you don't want to actually watch it. So as always, you can follow our Twitter handles, which start at Kyle and come towards me, I believe is the order they appear in. And we'll be back. No? Damn it.
Well, they do this.
Ian
week.
screwed it up.
No, you get to dictate it. Yeah.
So now it goes from me to Kyle in the correct order here. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check us out next week. And thanks again. Later.
I love Michael Damiani, what's in your mug?
All right, so you have something that is not troll this time. So here I have a box
Okay.
in here.
So to describe to listeners, that is a small black box.
I know.
No, nothing
Now
on
next.
No,
next.
there's a Triforce on top.
it. Uh-oh, there's a Triforce on top.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so maybe a Triforce ring?
You know what? One day this will be sad if this is the box I used to propose to somebody.
That won't be
but
sad.
Not gonna happen.
That would be sad.
She'll be
yes.
so charmed. Get out of here.
Oh no! Look at that.
Aw.
All right,
It is a Triforce pin.
Solid gold.
No, it's not solid gold. I think it's like just plated gold or something.
It looks
So
gold.
these, you got this if you were a user moderator on Nintendo's forums like roughly a decade ago.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
That is exclusive, dude.
And yeah,
That is crazy.
I was like, oh, cool. Like, I was just like, all right, cool. I got like, at the time you got like a green, your name turned green essentially. And you got like a Triforce icon
Yeah.
on the forum. It's like, oh, that's cool. That's all I wanted was the Triforce by my name. And all of a sudden in the mail one day, we get like this thing. And I'm like, what is this? It's like in a box with a Triforce on. I'm like, oh, no way, what is in here? And it's like this Triforce pin. I'm like,
Oh my
no, man,
word.
this is amazing.
Holy cow.
It's pretty cool.
That is a treasure. That is a true
pretty
treasure.
cool.
That thing's pretty cool.